Happy Thursday. Bright, sunny California. And we are here to talk about Latoya's journey. But first, I definitely want to say thank you to everyone who's a part of this group. It's about 1,200 of y'all, so keep inviting your friends and family. And throughout this time, if you have any questions, feel free to reach out. But I'll definitely we'll talk about how you can connect with Latoya and how you can support her, and even get involved should she has some things you want, because I know she has some things some of you guys like in here. But then we'll leave that in the description below if you're on YouTube. But I also put a post in the group for you. So Latoya, kind of already know, we kind of spoiled it earlier. You paid off $27,000. What was it? How long did it take you? Tell us a little bit about your journey there.
Yeah, so I actually paid off $27,000 in the period of a year. I think it was from August 2017 to 2018, I believe. And I was on an income of $55,000. So that's a very average income for a person.
Yeah.
And I live in California. I am married, but at the time I was dating my husband. Okay. He was my boyfriend. So we did live together during that time. Okay. So we did have, a double income, which was very nice. But yes, so I paid off $27,000 in a year's time. And the catalyst for that, I think, was really important. So throughout, I would say, like for about 3 years, I was reading a lot of books and listening to a lot of podcasts. Dave Ramsey really played a big part in my debt journey. Okay. In terms of figuring out personal finance and my love for that, I've always had a love for personal finance. I just never had a ton of money. Okay.
So you're normal.
So I'm normal. And so, I actually uploaded a YouTube video in, I want to say 2018, just talking about my debt journey. And the first part of my journey really has to do with the mentality. Okay. I grew up, like many people, not having a lot of education on personal finance. Is not something that was really taught in school. We had a couple of, flavors of it, sprinkled throughout. Everyone would talk about how important it is, but no one had any practical knowledge. You should invest, but how and where? And I've never seen like an E-Trade account or, just things like that. So I really had to educate myself and get out of the mentality of, that my life would probably reflect those around me, which was, I probably won't be that good with money. I'm probably going to be broke. This is kind of my life, how it is, what it's going to be. And, I might as well just kind of manage what I have, and hopefully I'm healthy and I die happy. So a lot of it was me training my mindset out of that mentality and thinking of things like, the love of money is the root of all evil, which I love money. Right. It's not my, my main focus, but I have nothing against money, and I think that term has been moved around a lot, but, every time I go to the store, it's like, I can't afford that. I'm broke. I'm, different things that sort of get embedded into your psyche, as a child, because I did not have a lot. Right. Growing up. Growing up, we were in, shelters from time to time when I was very, very young. My mother, I watched her work. She was an entrepreneur, a cosmetologist, and she worked really hard, but we never really had that much. And she worked her way up, but there was always a struggle to it. Being a brown person, common, especially since a lot of the opportunities weren't just handed to us. It makes it a little harder. But I've always respected her hustle, but there was always this underlying, struggle part of it all. And so that really can color how you look at the world and how you feel about money.
Yeah. So good. So I mean, you just unpacked like we had a therapist last week, so we can use some of that counseling for that. But no, you hit up on this kind of same things when I'm talking to people. Like, you limit your own success. Are you taking life, or are you accepting what life gave you? Okay, this job isn't working, or your business isn't flowing. Well, did you really exhaust everything for it? So if you're only looking at jobs in your small town, are you really giving yourself the opportunity to do it? And so when we're talking about the debt piece, like, we all just kind of, I know I, for one, grew up with, you can't buy a nice car without getting a car loan. Like, all my cash cards look like cash cards. But the idea that, to your point of the mindset of, I can get a $20,000 car and pay cash for it and not have a car note, that was unbeknownst to me. I knew I was going to have to take out a loan. But it's really important that people understand early, no matter what the circumstance would be, you were doing this right before you you were staying with them, but right before you guys got married and things of that nature. But needless to say, $55K in California, and you spend half of that on
paying off debt.
Yeah. And I just know, I'm thinking about the math of that. I'm like, yeah, you didn't have any money, dear. Like, unless he was generous, like, you didn't really have out of your pocket any money because you were putting it all in debt. So what type of debt was it?
So I had 2 credit cards. I had a car that I had just got. I had gotten into a bad car accident. I had literally just paid off my car, and the next month, someone rams into me on the driver's side on the highway. So I had to get a new car.
Had to.
Yeah, I was so mad. I was like, no way. And the crazy thing is right before the accident happened, I was listening to a money podcast, and I'm feeling good. I'm like, I just paid off my car. This is great. I'm going up, and then boom. Yeah. So 2 credit cards, a car, my student loans, which I'm still working on, which we can talk about that later.
Yeah.
I want to say that was it. I can't remember much of anything else. There was probably little things here and there, but those were the 2 big things: credit cards and car.
And so for you, you're like the first one to really kind of engage with this whole money thing. So what was actually the turning point where you were like, okay, so you heard some things. Was it when you wrote the budget, or did you just hear something? You'd be like, you know what, maybe I can have something more with my money than what I'm being said? Because essentially, when you're the first one, whether you go to school or whether like you embark in business, much like yourself in a different realm, you're going to get a lot of conflicting information because of where and how you grew up. The understanding you have, the only thing that for me gets me through is, well, if they don't really have money and these people do have money, there's something wrong here. Like, they going to work, but they ain't got no money. How can we not afford anything? Like, nothing. We can't afford anything. So at some point, you're like, well, this is kind of strange, but I mean, this person got money, so it must work.
Yeah, I think the biggest catalyst that really put me in overdrive was realizing that I found my husband.
Okay.
And I was like, all right, because we both had debt. Okay. And I really wanted to make sure that, when we built our life together, that we didn't shy away from talking about money.
Ooh. So you got in there early.
Oh, real early. I think we were 6 months in, and I was like,
"Oh, wow."
Yeah, I was
Say,
like,
hold on. What's you? I got to pause because I don't know how much. I mean, you on Instagram, so you know how many times people be like, well, when should you talk about money? When should you kind of bring it up? How long were you in?
6 months.
6 months. How does that go?
Well, you know what? We actually moved in with each other pretty early. At the time, I had my own apartment, and we fell very, very quickly. We found each other online, and it was like, this is my person. Like, it was a very adult decision. Of course, we had the normal flutters and everything, but it was different than my other relationships. And I really wanted to go in there with my mind still working.
Yeah. 6 months in,
you know? And so essentially, I knew that I was going to be on this journey, and I knew that, you know, he made a decent income actually.
Okay.
And I've never been attracted to numbers. It's like, for me, it's always been, you know, what do you do with your money? And do you have something to show for after all of this? Right. You can make as much money as you want, but if at the end of the day, you don't have any money, it's like, that's not impressive to me. It never has been. So the first thing that we did was I said, hey, I'm on this journey. I feel like we're going to be in this together. And, you know, we didn't know the timeline of when we were going to get married. He had not even asked, but I was like, this is a deal breaker. This is a deal breaker for me. Okay. So we're gonna we're gonna look at our credit scores. And okay, so y'all know you got it going on. We could be
man, you extra confident. I would say that. Like, it was either, I mean, 6 months. When I was talking to my wife, 6 months, she was like, look, what are we? If she would have said, let me see your credit report, that probably would have been the end of the conversation, because I had like a 5 something. And I'm like, this don't look good. Like, I'm like, I got cash. Don't get me wrong, but credit, nah. This is showing my history and all that. So 6 months.
Yeah, I mean, and you have to put it into perspective as well. You know, we were older. You know, when I met him, I think I was gonna turn 30 soon or something.
Okay.
So
okay.
We were older. We weren't like 21.
Okay.
You know, kind of knew what we wanted.
Okay.
And I feel like, and also we had already moved in. We had already been doing things that, you know, you would expect from husband and wife. Okay. And so it was like, okay, so if we're getting all this, you're getting all this, so we got to get into this too.
Right.
You know, I can't expect to share my life with someone and then be uncomfortable having those kinds of conversations, especially when we're thinking about moving forward. And I was prepared to lose him. I was.
Okay.
You know? I was. You know, and it was like, I felt like, you know, rip the Band-Aid off now, because this is a deal breaker for me. Just like he really wanted children.
Okay.
You know, and I was like, and so it was like,
so you both had something.
Exactly. And so it's like, okay, if we want to continue on this path, like, what are the things that are important to us? And, you know, if we accept them, then we know how to proceed. So yeah, I feel like that was what really put the gas on, or what do you put your foot on the gas pedal. And so I wanted to make sure that I was debt free, at least outside of my student loans, before we got married, even though I didn't know when we were going to get married. That was really important to me. And I wanted to also be with a partner that was willing to work with me with finances while I helped him along with his debt-free journey as well. So, yeah.
Wow. So had he ever really talked about money in this fashion before, when you said the 6 months? So how did that go? Because I know a lot of things that come up in the group is for me, even, I usually talk to wives before I talk to their husband. I tell people all the time, I don't have a problem doing that. But in order for me to get the marriage, I usually get the wife before I get the husband. And that's cool. But what are some things that people who they're operating differently, they know blank, you know what I'm saying, it's a contingency right now. It's not going well. They don't talk about it. What are some things that you, besides whipping off the Band-Aid, if you look back now, you'd be like, well, you can probably approach it this way to get it going.
Yeah, this is the hardest conversation. And honestly, it continues to be a difficult conversation.
Yeah.
We have very different styles. He's very much focused on making more income, and I'm very much focused on managing income.
Okay.
So that's just our, that's just kind of our baselines, right?
Okay.
So what I did for us what I did for myself. And I laid out all of our bills and all of our income. You can use an app. I use the app. I use the app every dollar. Okay. And that just gets the numbers right on the table.
Right.
It's like, okay, what do we have coming in? What do we know is going to be coming out? And then what do we have left over? And to ease into that conversation, I feel like you have to know your partner.
Yeah.
You know, like my husband he does not like talking about money, especially when it is about him not spending it in the way that he wants to. And I'm just being 100. And you know, we really just had to talk about our strengths. You know, I had to recognize and congratulate his ability to make money.
Yeah.
And you know, you need that.
You need that.
A little bit more of the risk taker, because I had to verbally say, these are the ways that you make me better.
Yeah.
You're really good at making money. I know how if you need $5,000 real quick or $200 or whatever,
it'll come back.
You know how to make it.
Yeah.
You allow me to enjoy the journey instead of the destination.
Yeah.
You need that person in your life, because if it was me, I wouldn't have done anything fun. I just went all in. And so just acknowledging what that person brings to the table. And then in turn, he had to acknowledge my strengths. I am really good. I can make $1 stretch the whole couple meals.
Yeah. We need all them.
You need that too. And so, you know, and then also aligning on what our goals were.
Yeah.
You know, we knew that we wanted to get married. We knew that someday we wanted to have a child or two. We knew that we wanted to have a house. We envisioned that we wanted to travel. Like, these are things that we both love. Right. And we knew that there's 2 ways to get there, you know, and a combination of those ways, making more income and, you know, having discipline with the income that you make is what's going to allow you to get there. So we had to really be okay with having those tough conversations, but also recognize, you know, what the other person's bringing to the table. So it wasn't just me. Yeah. This is what we have to do, which it was a lot of the time, but also allowing things in the budget that makes your partner feel human and not like they're a robot just working for absolutely nothing, no reason.
Absolutely.
You need that too. He loves going to the movies. We had to put that in the budget. Like, he wanted those movie memberships. He wanted a little bit of, you know, extra change here and there. We created our joint account, which we pay all of our bills, but we also have our own account. Okay. One, because we like to surprise each other with gifts, but also you know, I have feminine needs that I don't necessarily want to. Hey, I need some tampons today. Can I go inside the account? You know, being very.
I gotta go to the store. Just know that. That's all they need.
You know, and then he has the flexibility, you know, out of the percentage or the dollar amount, we say like, hey, this is going to go to you every month, and this is going to go to me every month, and so we both have freedom with some of our income, but we make sure that the essentials are taken care of, and that's what works for us. And you know, like I said, it's many conversations. It's not just one, and it's a continuous journey. So
it's a couple of things you actually hit on that I think is critical. Number one, you said you aligned your goals. You actually stated what the actual goals is, and I think that's so crucial with any couple. I think the second piece of all this is, like we keep saying, this is a journey. This is this is something that goes on for a long time. There's multiple conversations. I mean, I've been married a couple of years, but the money conversation, because typically in a money conversation, somebody's not going to get something. Or somebody's got a problem with somebody spending something. So it's not going to ever really feel good, because then when you had a conversation, you're going to feel that little constriction come down. But it's one of those things that, like you said, without my wife, people wouldn't think my life would be that great, because all I would do is work and invest and, and pay off something or give. I wouldn't do anything. So understanding your partner and what they bring and giving them that space, like for us, we have certain guidelines for, hey, if you spend over $500, hey, send me a courtesy text. Don't do that. I mean, if it's something for me, I'm not really tripping, but in general, you know what I mean? If you out there and you doing some stuff and you having fun, even, and this is not a joint account, but if you're about to spend $500 or more, send me a courtesy text. I'm not saying send me a question or nothing, but let me know, you know what I mean? Like, hey, I just spent it. I'm like, all right. But that was a big thing for her. Mine was 500 for her. Her was, for me, was every 5,000 I have to let her know that I saved. So we don't, again, you might want to buy a house and you come up and they pull your little tax refund or they pull your little statements and they like, well, shoot, what's all this money over here? What you plan on doing? Like after a certain amount, some stuff ain't excusable. Somebody thinking that somebody finna get left. So,
Yeah.
So if you don't let them know and you let them be in their space, it's hard. But it's very important that, like you said, he's good at making money. You're good at management. That's where it lies. And it's not probably until you're doing this for about 5 to 7 years where you get a good rhythm. You know what I mean? So, okay, this is how we're gonna go. But ultimately, it's a journey. Yeah, if you're like me, I'll go hard nosed. Dag, if she would just get on the same page like I am, we could run through this. But that's not how this was designed. That's not who I chose. So that's a difficult thing. But I do like where you kind of stated, hey, this is ongoing conversations that have occurred. So you guys do one big budget. Y'all have separate accounts, which is I definitely agree with, because that gives you an independence, and whatever you do in your account, that's your business. I don't even care. My only thing is when we start to talk about this big, large stuff, that's where we like, hey man, we got to get a little bit more focused. But if you're talking about some little trip somewhere, I'm not really thinking too much about that. That ain't really harming my day to day. So you got married, so you paid off the debt, at least the majority, everything but your student loans before getting married. And then did he have some too, or how did that work?
Oh yeah. You've never met my husband.
No. I know he makes a good income though. You're like,
he's very expensive.
He's smart.
My husband has very expensive taste. I do as well. I have more restraint.
Yeah.
And yeah, when we were digging through his I don't want to embarrass him or anything like that. But yeah, we definitely had he had a couple things on his credit report that we had to tackle first.
Yeah.
We looked at credit cards. At the time, did he have any credit cards? At the time, he didn't have any credit cards. But you know, there were things that I don't want to blow them up too much. Yeah. There were definitely things where I had to question, like, why are we getting late fees when you have money, like stuff like that, where it's like just an organizational problem. Like I'm saying, he's awesome. Yeah.
But he's good. Like there are some people who are just good at making money, but when it comes to the, hey, it's due on the 25th or automation or whatever, he'll come back, be tired, and forget all about that freaking whatever bill is due. He'd be like, whatever, it is what it is.
Exactly. So there was a lot of organizational things, and so we automated a lot.
Okay.
Automating our bills helped a lot. Putting in that debit card or bank account into, your gas bill, your electricity, whatever you have. If you can put your rent. Some people don't feel comfortable with that, but I knew that if I set up our joint account in a way that we always had the money, at least by a certain date, it's debiting all of our bills come out of one account. Okay. And then all of our kind of flexible spending comes out of another account. Okay. So we always know that the money is going to be there. So we don't have to worry about, overdraft fees and things like that. So we really set it up that way at the beginning of the month when we're going through our budget. We do our budget monthly, by the way. Yeah. And, we figure out, okay, this month there's a birthday party. This month there's a cookout. This month we got to buy this person, and so we have little funds for that. But we do yeah, we do definitely make sure everything comes out of one account, and then our flexible spending, which we put like our groceries, our miscellaneous expenses out of another account, just so that everything's always accounted for. So I hope that's helpful. Anyway.
Yeah, absolutely. So as you guys begin to move forward, so like you said, you're kind of in the middle of the journey. So did you save prior to starting? Did you kind of set up your emergency fund or something of that nature before? Because when you look at this, since I mean, that was 2017, and if you're still in the midst of your student loans and understanding just our scenario, I would think you probably saved prior to starting your debt or save something.
That was the first thing that we did.
Okay.
As a couple, and I like to talk about, I did the same thing for me personally, but I feel like the harder conversation is when you're joining, when you're bringing someone else along the journey. But yes, that was the first thing. We followed Dave Ramsey's Step one is save $1,000 emergency fund, which definitely comes in handy.
Right.
And whenever we, dig into that, or we have an emergency, we make sure that that's the first thing that we replenish. So definitely we save that $1,000. And by the way, we're not Dave Ramsey purists.
Hey, it's really no judgment. I know people flex his plan. Like some people do 3 instead of 1, and then they do 2. Because that's what I'm saying. I was just curious because I was looking at the timeline. I'm like, well, you probably had more savings in there, or like you said, you just kept replenishing.
Yeah, we definitely replenished. And then, so essentially how Dave Ramsey's plan works is the Snowball Method. Right. So, say you have all of your minimums, you pay off your minimums, and if you have any extra money left over, then you apply that extra money to your lowest balance. So that you can knock that out of the way, you get the euphoria of having completed something, and then you roll that minimum balance, like say it's $20. Now it goes towards what the minimum would be for the next debt, and then you also put your extra money on top of that. And so we just kind of snowballed it that way. Okay. And yeah, that's how I personally paid off debt, and how I helped him pay off debt, because at the time we weren't married. Okay. And that's also we don't really have any debt as a married couple, but we do have our student loans still. Okay. So that's how we're kind of working on it now.
So what's your projected end date of the student loans?
That's going to be a while. We both have master's degrees. Yeah. So that's a lot of money if you can imagine. Yeah. But right now what we're doing is we're taking advantage of the fact that the government has put a hold on the interest. Yeah. And so we're still paying our minimums and then whatever else we can. Okay. So that we can knock down our principal as much as possible in this 6-month grace period. I think that if you can do that, if you are fortunate enough to be able to do that, that's a really good idea. It's not like a holiday where you're like, oh, I got some extra money now. Yeah.
Oh, it's coming. Trust me. They'll make it up in the next 6 months.
Exactly.
That interest.
Right. Like some people, like there are some months where, we're not able to. I'm sorry if you guys can hear the low lawnmower in the background. Can you hear it?
No.
Okay, good. It's loud. He's like, there. But, and this is really important too, whenever there's extra money that you get, income tax, right. You expected to spend $200, but you only spend $150 because there was a discount, there was a sale, right. Settlement checks. A lot of companies are getting into trouble these days. I got like 2 different companies who got into trouble, and I'm getting random.
I don't know what they did, but I'm like, hey, I'll take it and do whatever.
All these class action suits.
Yeah.
Like whatever it is, like it's really important that if you're trying to get out of debt, that you don't treat that as, oh, now I'm going to go and buy X, Y, and Z that I've been wanting to buy. It's like, that's unexpected money that you can be putting towards your debt. Exactly. And I still practice that today.
Okay. Cool. So I guess I'm not clear. So you only have the 1,000, or do you guys have an emergency fund besides that somewhere?
So when we started, we only had 1,000. Okay. Now that our family has grown bigger, we have a son now. We've actually we put every time we get an income tax, we kind of split it in half. We split it up.
Okay, on debt and have some savings.
Debt and more savings.
Okay.
I think things get a little bit complicated, and they're not exactly black and white when you're planning a family, or when you have, you know, an extra family member added, whether it's a child, someone coming to live with you. You know, that's more expense. So I personally feel like $1,000 is not enough, right? Because you never know.
You're in Cali. That's the amazing part. That I'm like, you're in Cali. I'm like, $1,000 to me, $1,000 isn't enough. I could do it, but I'm just looking at a lot of people have families. If I had a family, I mean, a kid's formula, you can run through that $1,000 real quick. Not even formula, but diapers, or, you know what I mean? Kids just need stuff. So not even getting extra. So that's why I was saying, like, I understand people who, some people, honestly, they get 3 months, get 6 months worth of savings, and then they just go ham on their debt because they like, hey, I got a cushion. I'm going to just go hard. I really could care less which way you go, just as long as you go a certain way and you get to it. And I know I did a video, and I talk a lot about this to the group and just in general, that paying off your debt, whether it's student loans, your house, all that type of stuff, it's still, you have to have a long-term plan. And that debt-free, if it's not happening in 5-6 years or whatever, it still has to be a long-term plan, because you have to be thinking about, how can I do it? You're investing, but maybe your investments grow. Well, if your investments grew 100, 200 grand, are you going to reach over and take 100 grand and go squash out your debt? Well, what you going to do? At some point, you're going to have to address it, because while your investment's growing, the debt will grow if you're not doing anything. So you have to have some sort of plan, some end goal with that. Which I think is important. Like you said, you have a family.
Exactly. So
good. So you paid off. You did a few things that I didn't even know, but you paid off your debt, $27,000 in 13 months or 1 year, and then you did probably one of the most hardest things by bringing a man, talking money to a man specifically within 6 months of knowing him, which that. Pretty much anybody who wonders when's a good time, 6 months seem to work out. But like you said, you're a little bit older, and I can understand that you guys were a little bit more intentional, a little bit more focused and clear on what you were looking for, and you realize, hey, this is going to work, and you move forward. But I still think some type of conversation can be had, whether, you know what I'm saying, you don't have to talk about that person's specific debts. Hey, how did you grow up? You know what I mean? Did your mom sit down and do a budget, or what do you guys think of that? How do y'all discuss it? You can kind of find out little things along the way. You don't have to wait 6 months and then be like, yeah, on this date, we're going to pull out the budgets. We're going to pull out the credit reports, and we're going to see what's going on. And this may or may not be the way we go forward, or we may part ways. It's not that scenario. So good. So yeah, you got a long-term plan there. And do you think you'll always stay in Cali, or is that something that you're like, we might move?
We know that we want to stay close enough to Los Angeles. Another thing that sort of mixes things up a little bit is like when you're growing your own business, and you know, we were talking about income as well, as like, you know, that's why it's important for us to also have different accounts. And also focusing on, revenue building things as well. So at this point, we're kind of we're juggling a couple things. We have our baseline of paying off student debt no matter what. Okay. We're also growing our business on the side, which needs its own money to operate.
Absolutely.
And, you know, it's so funny because a lot of, this is a side note, a lot of, you know, people who talk about paying off debt and debt and personal finance, right, they don't really talk about the part of when they were building their business, right, while paying off debt. Yeah. And I feel like that there's not enough information addressed to that, because, you know, even Dave Ramsey, it's like, he talks about how he, was going bankrupt and all this stuff, but then he built a whole business based off of his life's journey. And so I'm always wondering, like, so when did that happen?
Yeah.
And what money did you allocate towards growing your business while you were paying off debt, or did one come completely after the other? So these are questions that I have, but we are so at this current moment where we are paying off student loans, but we're also growing our business as well. I'm sorry, what was your question? Because I wanted to make sure.
Well, staying in Cali, but you definitely offered a good opinion that or actually a good segue, because it is important, because I've seen it a couple different ways. A lot of people are starting businesses. So no matter who your business is, your business needs money to run. So the biggest thing is that most people don't understand is you have to allocate something for your business. And if your business is profitable, then you pay yourself. And then when you pay yourself, you use that for your debt, you know what I mean? Or what have you. But you always retain something for the business, depending on what type of business it is, it's retaining earnings. But that's something I know Dave has really spoke a lot about, because he just paid off all his debt, and then he kind of started. His business kind of pulled him in a direction after the fact, but he was completely done. And even while he was building his business, he went back, and the stuff he had in bankruptcy, he went back and paid them. Just that was his integrity mindset, which is admirable, because I know if I would have went through that, I'd be like, look, y'all got something, you know what I mean? So you good. But yeah, when you're operating your business, you definitely.
You just reminded me, yeah.
When you're operating your business, you always want to. That's why it's important that you pay yourself out of the business, because a lot of people, they just put everything back in the business. I'm like, once the business is making a profit, then you have to see how much you. So if you have $10,000 in profit, 3 or 4 go into the business, and the other 7, you know what I mean, come to you as a salary. And you start that behavior early, but then you can use that salary to pay off your debt to help you along the way. So as your business grows, you can, get a little bit extra, because that's what the whole point of you starting a business is. Besides it being a passion, it's supposed to help aid you from an income perspective.
Exactly. And that's one of the reasons why we're going to be staying somewhat close to Los Angeles, because there's so many resources in Los Angeles. However, when it comes to buying a house, which hopefully we'll be able to do in like 5 years, I don't know, we'll see. Depends on how these businesses do. But it's very expensive to live in Los Angeles. Absolutely. If you want to buy a house. I mean, our rent is crazy.
Yeah.
So that's why we'll be kind of staying close to Los Angeles, because of business needs. And also I'm an actress. Okay. So a large part of that $55K that I made was part of it, because I didn't even tell you guys that I had 2 part-time jobs. Like I had a part-time job, I got a second part-time job, then was doing Uber as well. So I kind of had 3 part-time jobs. Okay. I booked a commercial as an actress, and I had a YouTube channel. So I was doing a lot. Yeah. And when I booked the commercial as an actress, that actually helped me pay off a lot of debt as well. Okay. So my income fluctuates. I just wanted to make that clear to anybody, because they were like,
what was the part-time job? So you had Uber, and what was the other ones you did?
So I actually do a lot of things. I work in the tech industry.
Okay.
So I work on technology, taking things apart, putting them back together, things like that. I also I was doing promo work. Okay. That was a side gig that I had. And I was basically going out, like giving away samples and stuff like that. So.
Okay. And then then you said you had the commercial, and then because your YouTube channel, which by the way, congratulations, over 50,000 now. So when you did you start that back in 2017, or was it already kind of revenue producing for you back then?
So at the time, my YouTube channel actually wasn't. It was only making enough really to keep itself going. Okay. I started it in 2012.
Okay.
And I had taken a bunch of breaks here and there, for various reasons, like when I, had my son, when I got married, before, when I was like really hustling really hard, trying to pay off debt. So I would take breaks here and there. But it's finally now at a point where it's doing well.
Okay. Yeah.
That sweat
I
equity.
love it. I love it.
For sure. So it was just really important for me to use the money from that to at least keep it going, because I knew that at a point I would reach here where I could actually use some of that money towards debt or reinvesting back to that business.
So good. Very busy. She's an actress. You might have seen her or will see her on an upcoming episode of something very, very soon. So good. So what are you doing now? How could I always have one more wrap-up question, but before I get into that, how can they actually support you, connect with you, and even share a little bit about what you talk on the YouTube channel? I know the ones I've seen have been all about the natural journey. I know it's not my forte, but I have a wife, and I just think it's interesting that just the technical pieces that you have to do with the upkeep. So, so how can they support you, and what are all those things about?
Yeah, sure. So I have a YouTube channel that's basically focused around natural hair care, mainly type 4 natural hair care. If you understand, if you have type 4, you know what that is. That's just a kinkier hair type. So I make videos educating people on how to care for their hair, also about, the chemistry of hair care in general. And I do it in a fun, relatable way. People really enjoy my videos. I make people laugh a lot. So I hear. And I also run a blog, latoyaebony.com. And I kind of funnel everything through my blog. So my YouTube videos are there. They're also on YouTube. I have an Instagram account at Latoya_Ebony. And I sometimes will throw in some fashion because I love fashion as well, but mainly natural hair care and how to take care of it. That's what I do.
So good. So Latoya, I think I got everything from you except your blood type. I even know your hair type. So that's a new one for me. But what would you say, if you could? I always like people to give some encouragement to someone, maybe they're just married or about to be married or going through that process, or if they're single, about how they can start their debt-free journey. What are things that they should, what reasons they should, and what things they should look out for? Just some encouragement that you can offer to them for that.
So one of the main things I think that when people are talking about paying off debt and things is they're so focused on income. And most of the time when you're trying to get out of debt, you don't have the income. That's kind of the conundrum. And so I would say that gratitude first, gratitude for what you do have. You have something that you can work with. And, when you put that down on paper, whether it encourages you or not, there's always a way through it. And I'm not, I don't talk about faith much on my channel or anything like that, but you have to have faith. Whether you're religious or not, have faith in the process. The universe is neutral. It gives you what you put back into it. So what I've noticed in my journey is when I started to focus on what I want, like what is it that I really want? What are the desires of my heart? Where do I see myself if I had the life that I really wanted? What am I wearing? Allowing yourself to sort of go in that imaginary, visionary state and really connecting yourself to your goals, and then seeking out people that have achieved it, whether they're really famous, whether they're people in your life. Are there books you can read? Are there podcasts you can listen to? Are there blog articles that you can look up? Are there whatever there is, choose your mentors. And I talk a lot about that. You need to choose your mentors because they may not be your parents and they may not be your spouses. They may be people who don't even know that you exist. But hearing other people's stories, finding the things that motivate you. If it's making that paper thermometer and filling in how much debt you've paid off, if it's just simply looking at numbers on a spreadsheet, if it's, every time I pay off X amount, I get to treat myself with this small thing, having those markers, and also believing that you can do it. Mm-hmm. You have to believe it. You have to, like, why are we doing this if you don't believe it? Yeah. Why would anyone do that to themselves? You have to be celebrating those small wins. It may not be that you can, pay off $1,000 this month. Maybe it's only $5 extra that you were able to allocate. But I really do believe that God and the universe blesses you when you set your intentions and your goals and you believe it with all of your heart that you can, and then you make actions. You do actions that lead you towards that goal. When you have a decision, whether you should go out tonight versus stay in, like, does going out align with your goals? You might need a break. That's okay. But as long as the majority of your actions are leading you in that direction, that's what matters, and I think you can take that in money. You can take that in choosing your spouse. You can take that in how you raise your children, how you arrive, how you show up in the world. But you have to have belief. You have to have a goal, and live in that imaginary state. Choose your mentors and choose a good spouse that supports that as well. I was fortunate to think about these things ahead of time, but I know that there's a lot of people that are like, oh, well, I don't know how to bring this other person along this journey. My husband talks a lot about watching me. It's just like, you working out and you want your partner to work out with you. Like, nah, you go do that. I'm a chill.
Yeah, you do that. You do that. But no, you're right. That's one thing I thought was really strange. That I really think is interesting. I think that's why married people, after so long, you kind of look alike, because you actually do kind of, your mannerisms start to be similar. Your humor starts to really connect and kind of intertwine. Like, at first, I know there's a lot of stuff my wife would be like, that's not funny, but I laugh at so much stuff. Now she actually gets a lot of, she's like, oh, I see what he's talking about. Mm-hmm. To your point of the working out stuff, like, there are things she'll do. It got me to working out. I started saving a little cash can type thing. She randomly started doing it herself. You know what I mean? So your behaviors can impact, even if you can't, like you said, when you try to have that conversation, it just doesn't happen. That is so good to really call out, because a lot of people don't understand. Again, it's a long game. You're just finding this out. You know what I mean? You're going to be together for the rest of your life. So don't even worry about that. But it's a long game. So good. I know I cut you off, but I think you're on the cusp of another good nugget.
Am I no, yeah. I mean, I think it's really hard you can't force anybody to do something that they just don't want to do. And I think that that's why it's so important to try and find people that align with your values, and to stick to that. Whenever there's a disagreement, whenever there's an argument, whenever there's a whatever, this is what we said that we want to do. Mm-hmm. I want this just as much as you. If this month we have to relax a little bit because you feel like a robot and you need a little bit of your sanity, like, what can we do to get you to feel a little bit more whole so that we can get back on track? That's okay. Like, nobody has a checklist. Like, did you
Right.
At the end of the day, like, when you do it, however long that takes, people are still going to be like, can you give me some tips?
Right.
I mean, every 2 months or years, it still has value to it. Yeah. And I think if you can choose a partner that is empathetic and compassionate and really loves you, eventually they're going to come around in some ways. You may not have the dream that you thought you'd have, and it may not happen like everybody else, but if they love you, they're going to give on certain things. And if you need to go to counseling, go to counseling.
Right.
You know, if you need marriage counseling, if you're going to get married and you feel like you need counseling, go ahead and do that. We did that as well.
Right.
Because there's so many issues that come up when you're talking about money.
Right.
That are rooted in your past and your beliefs and your mentality. And, you know, there's so much to unpack in just talking about money. And I really don't want people to shy away from the mental health aspect of it and you know, seeking out help if you need it.
Yeah. So good. Woo. Man, I could go on for 4 more hours with you, but I know I abused the time. She in sunny California, and some people it's dark. But no, Latoya is so awesome. I definitely appreciate that that word. Like she said, guys, it's a long race. Budget every month. Celebrate the wins. These are things I tell you, but I'm glad you actually spoke that because that's part of it. You know what I mean? When you're addressing your money, you're addressing things you were born into. You may not have developed these bad habits yourself. And it's not bad to me. I think they're just uneducated. I'm pretty sure if our folks had the awareness and had the resources that we have, they would be having these conversations now. So we're in a pivotal point of our lives where we can really change the game. And if the only thing we need to do is be like, okay, mom and dad did the best they could. Not I'm finna point the finger because I tell my mom all the time, you did the best you could. Now I know better, so I'm telling you this is how it's gonna roll. And she understands that. I'm not begrudging you or nothing because that's just what it is. But so good. Gratitude, contentment, celebrate the wins. Talk to your spouse. Just give them some grace. Also, stay consistent, but commit to it. You have to commit to something. So it's so good. Latoya, anything else? One more time, just so they understand. You can reach the blog at LatoyaEbony.com.
LatoyaEbony.com, and you'll find my YouTube channel. You can YouTube search Latoya Ebony. Yeah. My Instagram handle, Latoya_Ebony. Everything's Latoya Ebony for the most part.
And if you got that type 4 hair, you definitely need to be on the YouTube whipping it back and forth. So yeah, guys, I'm gonna put all that link that all into the description below. But then also, if you're in the Facebook group, I'm gonna send out a post with all our information. I encourage you, look out, watch, follow on Instagram. She does amazing stuff. I try to pop into our lives as much as possible. But until next time, you guys, next week we have another debt-free story to share with you, and can't wait to dive in. See you guys later.